We are talking about this concept of peace on earth. This comes from the angelic declaration to the shepherds there in Luke. They said, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace among those on whom God's favor rests." And so we've been looking at that of going, what does that mean in our world? What does that mean in our city? And I am happy to announce that I actually heard this morning. This is no joke. I heard this announcement has been made. Vladimir Putin has put out a statement. He said there will be peace as soon as all the goals of Russia and Ukraine are accomplished. Isn't that the way that we do it, right? We will have peace as soon as I get what I want. That's how the world defines it. Peace means that I get it. And even if I have to punch you in the mouth and take your stuff to get it, I'm justified because you know what? It'll all end in peace at the end. But that's not what God is offering. He doesn't come by sword. He doesn't come by force. He doesn't come by compulsion. Here the angels declare God is offering peace on earth through the humble birth of his son, an offering that we can receive. And it is his deep pleasure to do that. And so, we've looked at that of going, what does that mean in the world? It's not a failed promise on God. He's not going, I'm fixing this, because if people continue to do what they do, like Putin is, yes, the world's going to be broke. But if you want my peace, it's there for you. And I have left you, us here on earth. We are the emissaries of peace. We are the ones that God is working through to bring peace on earth, peace in our city. And today we're going to talk about peace in our homes, in our relationships. And what does that mean? And we need to start with, though, what peace means, because we get this all mixed up, right? Our culture tells us over and over again, peace always means inner peace. It is about me. It is about how I feel. I just need to get in touch with myself. Really, everybody else is my problem. If I could learn to shut them out and just tap into myself, I could get there. It's individualistic. It's selfish. It's only about me, and it's not biblical. Not at all. It is not there. It is not about you, to quote the famous theologian Rick Warren. It's not about you. There is a slice of this where, yes, the peace of God is personal, and I can feel it, and I can experience it, but that is not its primary point. It comes from this deep Old Testament concept of shalom, where God is going, my peace is for us. My peace is relational, peace between you and me, but peace between us. That is what I desire. I desire to have a people that live in harmony, that live together under my reign of peace, not by force, not by compulsion, not by manipulation, but in my peace. That's what I want. So if you go, look, I went to my counselor and I found my inner peace and I feel really good, but that does not extend to any of your other relationships, you don't have what God is offering. Go thank Oprah. That's her business. God's going to go, the peace I offer is for us. He breaks down that wall of hostility. And so we're unpacking it. So I'm really glad that you're here today. We're looking at what it looks like in our relationships. The last 2 weeks have been kind of heady. We thought about some big ideas. Today is all about right where we live, right? We're all in these relationships. And we're going to start off with a passage of scripture that you're like, why didn't I get taught this like 20 years ago? This is going to unlock the whole thing. It's going to make it so simple, so clear. It's going to fix everything in my relationships. And here it is, Romans chapter 12, right from God's mouth. If it's possible, as far as it depends on you, try to live at peace with everybody. How about it? There you go. Like even God's admitting, gee, this peace stuff is kind of hard, right? I'm not even sure if it's possible. You could be in situations that have gone completely upside down As far as it depends on you, but you don't control the whole situation. Try to pull this thing off, but people are difficult. Come on, that deserves an amen, right? People are difficult. Amen. There we go. How about it? We might actually make it to heaven today. Thank you. Right? It's difficult because this is about you and me. Right? When we get to define it as just for me and everybody else is my problem, this is why 27%, I just read the article, 27% of young adults are ostracized from their parents. You get to be labeled them, you are toxic and I don't want you in my life, and I get to walk out. Because you're the problem, and I want my inner peace. Where God's going, no. This is about us figuring this out. I want to reconcile. I want to bring people together, not get rid of folks. That really is no different than Vladimir Putin. We're not dropping bombs. We're not using rifles. But we are bringing relational violence upon one another. You know it. You've experienced it. You've dished it out yourselves. We do this in the way that we treat one another. When I don't get what I want, there will be no peace until I get there. It's tough. It's tough. I got to deal with myself, but then I got to deal with other people I can't control. So what are we supposed to do? Well, let's look at a few different steps of what it means for going. God says, if you walk in my peace, this is what it's going to look like. Get ready for some comforting advice. Ready? Here we go. Stop the cycle. You got to stop the way that we approach this. And 1 Peter, it's taught in a lot of different places, but we're going to look at the book of 1 Peter here. He says, don't repay evil for evil. Don't retaliate with insults when people insult you. Instead, pay them back. Oh, yeah. Right? We like the last line. We know exactly what that means. That's the way that I like to behave. That's the way I'm oriented. And, revenge is a dish best served cold. Right? When they're least expecting it, man, right? That's the way we operate. That's the way this world operates. You stick me, I'm going to stick you. You put me down, I'm going to put you down. You hurt me, I'm going to unleash tenfold on you so that you never do that again. Why do you think we have almost 20,000 people dead? Because of an evil day that killed 1,400. All we've got is 2,100 people dead, 21,000 people dead. But this is the best the world has. What you give me, that's what I'm going to give you. God says no. If you walk in my peace, it's going to be different. You're going to stop that cycle of hate. You're going to not repay evil for evil. You're not going to retaliate. Instead, you're going to pay them back with a blessing. What? That doesn't make any sense. That's not how we're oriented. That's not my instincts. That's not what I'm taught. I'm taught to defend myself. I'm taught to, you give me respect, I'll give you respect. But you do me wrong, I'm going to do you wrong. God says enough of that. That's not the way I am. That's not who I am. You will pay back with blessing. You will give what they have not earned. You will give what they do not deserve, because that is how I have treated you. Now that's a pretty high price. That takes a lot of guts, frankly, right? To say, I'm not going to do this. But God says, I'm going to back you up. When you walk in my way, when you don't give what they have given you, you give the opposite. You walk in my blessing. You're writing a big paycheck, but guess what? I'm backing you up. You're working off of my dime now. This was hard for me to do. My experience of this began the day I came home from the hospital. I stayed there a little bit longer. They put me on some growth hormones that, I don't know, went out of control. Like, I was born a week later, I came home. Mom is exhausted. She puts me in a crib. She conks out. I begin to scream for 2 hours while she's conked out. My sister is sitting right above me on the stairs in our house and sits there for 2 hours listening to me scream. She walks down the stairs, goes over to my mom, opens her eye, and says, "I don't like him. Take him back." Now we go, "Oh, isn't that a cute moment?" That began 18 years of hostility between my sister and I. We were mortal enemies. Her good day was her coming. She was 4 years older than me, so I lost most of these battles. She would come and she would whoop on me. I would scream bloody murder. Mom would find out. She wouldn't even run away. She just stood there for Mom to come and whoop up on her, and she would stand there and take it and go, "It was worth it." I'm not joking. I couldn't even repay evil for evil. She had the. But at some point, the cycle has got to stop. Now, he's not just kind of citing a nice philosophy here. He actually, this is building off of what he said earlier. He said, "Here's your example." Guess who your example is? Jesus. Just a chapter before this, he says, "Listen, God called you to do good, even if it means suffering. Even if you're mistreated. Even if you're accused badly. Because Christ suffered for you. He is your example, and you must follow in his steps." Jesus never sinned, nor ever deceived anyone. He did not retaliate when he was insulted, nor threaten revenge when he suffered. Sounds exactly what he said there, right? Jesus didn't operate that way. That's the way the world operates. "I'll give you what you give me." He went, "No, I'm going to stop the cycle." What did Jesus do? He left his case in the hands of God, who judges fairly, who judges justly, who knows who I am and what I have done. Please understand me, this is not a call that if you are being badly mistreated, this is not to excuse someone abusing you. That's not what this is about. Although this is being spoken to slaves in the Roman Empire, Christian slaves that had no ability to get away. And he went, "You know what? You can still serve God even in the worst possible circumstances." We're not there. So this isn't about putting up with being abused. Please, if he is doing that to you, come for a pastoral visit, and I'll explain it to him in terms that he can understand. He'll understand the peace of God then. But this is about going, look, you know what? I don't have to always get my justice now. I don't always have to get what I think I deserve right now. I don't have to right every wrong right now. I want to stop the cycle. The cycle is always, you do me wrong, I'm going to do you wrong. And God says, my peace says differently. And he invites us into this place. That's on you, all of us. And this is what God has always been teaching. One of the best proverbs in the Old Testament is this. He says, a person's wisdom yields patience. When somebody does something to you, instead of flying off the handle, hang on, let me take a breath. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. It's your glory to overlook an offense. Could you get anything more un-American? Like, we glory in taking the offense. That's what the world is telling us. Your Lord and Master says, no, you're going to stop this. That's not who I am. That's not who you're going to be. You don't have to feel and trip over everything that somebody lays at your feet. They do you wrong. You give them blessing. That's a tough hill to climb on. Start out here with us, but that's where it begins. Stop the cycle. Now you're walking in God's peace. It goes from there to pursuing peace. Peter's going to continue to kind of work this out, right? Following that, he's going to go, look, if you want to live a good life under God's blessing, this is what it's going to look like. And he kind of lists a number of different things. But right in the middle of it, he lists this. Turn away from evil and do good. Search for peace and work to maintain it. What? This is going to require work? Yeah. See, it's that people thing again. They're wily and difficult and stubborn. It's going to take some work. This isn't about Pollyanna of going, hey, if I just put on a happy face, we're all going to get along. No. There are difficult people out there, and you might be one of them, right? It's going to take work to really walk in the peace of God and say, this is what this means. Look at how, let me just run through a couple different places here. Look at this. Hebrews 12, make every effort to live in peace. Yep, this is going to take work. Paul in Ephesians 4, be completely humble, gentle, be patient, bearing with one another. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. These are different authors using the same language. It's going to take work to really walk in the peace of God. You stop the cycle, but then there's a whole lot more work to be done. So I lived under this tyranny for 17 years. My sister moved out. Latter years got a little better because she was gone. But when I was 17, end of my junior year, my mom gets a phone call. It's my sister. She lives in Western New York. She said, hey, Mom, how about if Noel comes up and lives with me for the summer? Give you a break. And I don't know. I kind of was like, yeah, whatever, okay. We'll do something different. I was last in the house, so it was like, yeah, it switches things up. She's told me this. She literally hung up the phone and went, what have I done? I don't even like this kid. Like, it wasn't, like, God had to be in that. She didn't, freely choose that. She was compelled. And so I went up. And you know what we had to do? We had to work through our issues to pursue peace. Because all those 17 years didn't disappear. There are a lot of hurt. Now, we had grown up a little bit, but we were still kind of destructive towards one another. We had bedrooms on the opposite sides of that hallway. Woo, a lot of words crossed through that hallway at times. Through the night, into midnight, yelling at one another. We had stuff to work through. Pursuing peace doesn't always look nice and neat. But God's peace says, I'm committed to the process. We're going to continue with this. I'm not just going to go, hey, I'm going to cut you off and get rid of you. There are appropriate times where boundaries have to be set. But the pursuit of peace is doing the work and figuring out the issues. And through almost 2 years of living with her, we had to work through quite a few things. And we began to care for each other and watch out for one another. I mean, we were roommates, so just kind of living together was good for us to kind of go, you know what, we're redefining our relationship. We hit bumps and bruises. Sometimes I was an idiot, sometimes she was an idiot, but we had to kind of work through that. While I was there, I also worked on a farm. And I luckily got hired by the meanest farmer in the whole county. That's what he was known as. Now, he liked me. I don't know why. He liked me. We went through a lot of other workers because he truly was a mean son of a gun. He went hard on people, but he liked me. And he had a son, a grown son, that he was quite a handful himself. Now, he had another job, so he was only around every once in a while, but he was quite the pistol when he was there. I remember one day, he came. I probably did something wrong, so it started out with me having screwed up something. I was still a dumb teenager, getting things backwards. But he was in a foul mood, and he lit into me, and it went on and on and on. I remember we ended up in the barn office, and I was taking it. I probably was trying to defend myself a little bit. I was taking it until, boop, right? You get to that place of going, you've been there, right? You've been in situations where you went, that's it. That's as far as this is going. I'm done. And I did something wrong. I took a big step towards him. And he knew what that meant, and I knew what I meant by it. And he's like, whoa, you're going to stop right now. And fortunately, I did. And I just turned on my heels. We were done, and I started walking, and I headed down the road. And my farmer boss, he came along. He picked me up. He never said a word about it. All he said was, why don't you take the rest of the day off? Because he knew what his son was, right? And I was like, that's a good deal, right? Pursuing peace, though, means that you got to own your stuff. And through that afternoon, man, I could list the things. I was mad. I wanted to give him some stuff. I could have said, why are you treating me this way? And, blah, blah, blah. But God was also working. And he called me out and said, Noel, you did wrong. You took a step towards violence. You didn't do it, but it was there in my heart. I was ready to go. And he said, Noel, you need to own that. All right, what do we do? Well, yeah, I did wrong, but let me tell you everything that he did wrong, right? No, peace means I own my stuff. Hey, Steve, I just want to call and apologize for how I handled myself this afternoon. That's all I had to say. We didn't revisit the thing. Didn't need to accuse him of anything. I needed to own my stuff. Just calling to say I'm sorry about that. His response was, wow. I really appreciate that. And it changed that relationship overnight. He was still a handful, but we never had another incident like that in all my time there. See, peace isn't just about going, well, it's them. It's, I got to own my stuff. I got to do my work. Pursuing peace is about the patience. It's about the humility. It's not about control. That's what the world pursues. I'm going to make you. We're going to have peace because I'm going to force this on you. Jesus was given, and he's like, I'm just offering this in humility. A little baby in Bethlehem. And I call you to walk in that humility of going, I'm not trying to control you, but I'm going to stand in a place where I extend peace to you. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to own my stuff. And God works in that. The third step of this is the pathway to peace is forgiveness. Now, that's not really all that radical. You know that because, oh, yeah, that's right. I was just watching Oprah. She said the same thing. She's like next to God. Right? Because what she means is forgiveness is the pathway to my peace. It's about how I feel, and I can offer forgiveness in the scope of things really privately to myself so that I feel better, and that's the whole extent of it. That is not biblical. That is not God's definition of peace, right? It's not mine. It's not about how I feel. It's about us. Yes, forgiveness does make you feel better, but that's not its point. That's a gift for doing what's right. The point of forgiveness is peace, of bringing back together. It is about community. Paul puts it this way. He says, bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord has forgiven you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. This is, like we've talked about this over and over again, but I got to break you out of this lie that has permeated the church of going, look, forgiveness is really for me. It's here to make me feel better. It's not. It is to reconcile. It is about the space between us. But I don't see anything about peace there, Pastor Noel. Watch the very next line. You bear with each other and forgive them so that you can let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. See, that's about how I feel in my heart. See, if I forgive, I got the peace of Christ in my heart. I feel better, right? Except he keeps on explaining what that exactly means, right? Since as members of one body, you were called to peace. This peace is about the community. We bear with one another. We forgive one another because we're together, and we restore that. And in your homes, you restore that between husbands and wives, between parents and children. You restore that. You offer forgiveness to restore it with your coworkers, with your families and extended families. They may not receive it, but that's what you walk in. That's what we walk in, of going, I am ready to forgive. They may not identify with it. They may not accept it. Doesn't matter. That's where I walk. And when they are ready, it's about that. Yeah, but Pastor Noel, you know, I got really stubborn people in my life. And they continue to be hurtful. And they don't even recognize an honor that they've done something wrong to me. And they're just kind of like, I'm dangling that out there. Why can't I just make it about me? Do you think you're the only one that has been offering forgiveness after repeated wrong and repeated wrong and repeated wrong? What do you think God has been doing all this time? I love the world. And now I've given my son to offer this peace. They don't always see it. They don't recognize it. They don't accept it. But here I stand, without sword, without compulsion, without manipulation, saying, I want peace. I offer my peace to you. He calls us to do the same. If anything, this can actually bring us to a point of tension, right? It's easier if we would go, well, it's just about me and my feelings, because then I can feel better and I can not worry about them. When God goes, no, you continue to look. It's about the connection. I lived with my sister for 2 years, and we had to do plenty of this. Forgiving one another, back and forth, asking for forgiveness, bearing with each other, learning to have peace between us. And God did an amazing thing. He redeemed 17 years of hostility in ways that neither of us knew. She didn't make that phone call. God had her do that. I didn't know what I was doing, going, yeah, I guess I'll try this. And God was working his plan. If you'll do the work, if you'll stop the cycle, if you'll forgive one another. Because when we forgive one another, we ultimately then are looking towards restoration. That's the deepest thing. Not everything can be restored. Not everything should be restored. But Paul, in his second letter to Corinthians, this is a messed up church. The first book is just like oh man, you got that wrong, you got that wrong. This church was so messed up, he had to write a second letter. Things went crazy. People were doing wrong. There were church fights. There were people that were trashing him. It was bad. And when he wrote this letter, he took the whipping stick. And he said, I'm writing harshly so that I hope that you get your act together so when I come, I don't have to be harsh. The very last lines of this letter, he summarizes what his deep desire is. Watch this. Strive for full restoration. There's been a lot of things going wrong. People doing wrong. You've been hard on them, thinking that's what I wanted, and you can ease up. Yes, we want correction. Let's restore our relationship. This idea of restoration is the idea of like setting a broken arm, putting it back into place so that it can function with the whole body. Encourage one another. Be of one mind, because this is really just about you. Oh, whoops, sorry. I slipped back into Americanism. Right? Aren't these all about the community? Encourage one another. Be of one mind. Live in peace between us. We walk in this. Can't fix everybody. Yes, there are things that are not going to, if it's possible, as it depends on you, live at peace. But there are ways that we must walk. We must reject our culture and say we will walk in the peace of God, in the peace of Christ. And when we do this, there's a restoration that can become possible. And when we do this, we walk in the love and the peace of God. We are in the shadow of his wings. He has called each of us to do this. I know none of you have any relationship problems in your lives right now. Everyone is behaving just as they should. This is what we celebrate at Christmas. Not the tinsel and the bulbs. Those are nice. When we get down to the meat of Christmas, my peace I offer the earth. I have left you here to walk in that peace. Even when others treat you wrong, that doesn't stop this show. You continue to walk in my peace. Bring my peace everywhere you go, into every relationship, even when it's tough, because then you walk in my blessing. We're going to spend some time in prayer here. I want to start with an ancient prayer. This is from St. Francis of Assisi. You might know it. It's a great prayer. You don't have to read it out loud, but read it with me. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not seek so much to be consoled as to console. To be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Laura's going to be up front. I'm going to take the other side. The altars are going to be open. We're going to have a response song. But this is a time for you to go to your Heavenly Father. Let this Christmas time be a start of peace in your world and in your home and in your relationships. Come and pray. Come and ask for the strength. Come and ask for the forgiveness for the ways maybe you have perpetuated the violence. This is a time to receive the peace of Christ so that you might be his agent. Come and pray.